Welcome to another episode of Search and AI News with me, Dr. Marie Haynes. Gosh, it's been a while since I did a podcast episode. I went to a great conference this week, the SEO IRL Conference in Toronto, run by Steve Toth. And I ran into several people there who were like, oh man, I love your podcast. And I'm like, I love recording it, but I always seem to have too many other things going. So this week I thought, let's just do one. Let's just see what comes out. And then something really cool happened. I remembered that one of the reasons why I haven't been recording podcasts is because I get caught up on the tech. I record podcast and then I don't have a really good editor for just audio podcasts. And I know there are some that exist, but they all frustrate me. And I thought, I bet you I could build one with the new tools that are available for building stuff with code. And sure enough, I went to AI Studio. If you have not used Google's AI Studio to try to build something, I'd really encourage you to do it. I think that one day, and that one day is not very far, we're going to get to the point where if you want something, if you want software, you just describe it to Google and it gets built. Well, I described that I would like a simple editor for my podcast. And if all goes well, this version that you're listening to right now has been edited. I've taken the pauses out and all the, well, not all of the ums, but I've taken things out with my new podcast editor, which was created in AI Studio. So here's how I did it. I just described what I wanted, and then it went ahead and built it in React, and it's something that I could use right in AI Studio. Now, the first version that I used didn't work, the first one that I built. I had trouble with the playhead that tells me where I am in the recording, and it kept going back to the beginning. And I remembered something that I heard a Google employee say, is that when you're trying to vibe code with AI, if you keep running into errors, sometimes it's best to just go start over again. So I did that. I started over, and it didn't work very well either the second time. And so I thought, well, I'll give it one more try. I started over a third time. I was a little bit more clear in my instructions in exactly how I wanted this to work. And this time it worked. It worked perfectly. And now I have this version. Again, I could use it in AI Studio, but then I saw a button in AI Studio that told me I could send this to GitHub. Now, I have done some things on GitHub. Those of you who are coders are probably laughing at me for my lack of knowledge, but I said, yeah, go ahead. We'll send this to GitHub. And AI Studio made a repository for me, and we were able to send the code. And I said, well, how do I get that code from GitHub to my computer? And then I went from, instead of AI Studio, I actually used the Gemini app to ask how to do this. And Gemini said, well, open up a terminal and type this. And anyways, now the code is on my computer, and I can just run it from my computer. Very cool. The next thing that I'm going to do is use the Gemini CLI. Again, if you have not used the Gemini CLI command line interface, it is so helpful in, you could just say, like, go do this, and it does it for me. So I'm going to use the Gemini CLI, give it my code that I have from AI Studio, and I'm going to say, can you use the Gemini app to create a description of this episode? I'm going to have it create 3 different descriptions that I can choose from or I can modify, and also timestamps, so that it's easier for the listener to figure out what you want to get to, because I do a lot of rambling, and I would like you to be able to skip ahead to the parts that you want. And then I'm going to also ask the Gemini CLI to read the documentations for the SoundCloud API and YouTube API, and I should be able to push my podcast out to SoundCloud and YouTube. Now, this doesn't sound like a huge thing perhaps, but for me it is. For me, when I do a podcast episode, I used to have a team that it would take a day for one person to organize all of these things. And now I should be able to just have my AI assistants do it for me. And so that's going to make me more productive. So I thought that was kind of cool. I've been using AI for a lot of things this week. I ran into somebody at, who was it? Oh, I was talking to Jess Joyce at the conference this week, and I was sharing some things I'm doing with AI, and she just looks at me, she says, "You and I do not use AI the same." And I realized that I use AI probably for too many things in my life. I'm speaking in January at a food bloggers conference, and I'm like, man, how am I going to talk to these food bloggers because I don't use search for recipes anymore. I constantly use AI for creating recipes, for helping me improve recipes, for saying, hey, okay, I've got these ingredients, give me a bunch of ideas of things I can make with that. I love using AI for that. And I really feel for a lot of businesses that have thrived on search that no longer will. And I'm not saying it's the death of all recipe websites. I know that some recipe websites are still doing really well. I'm actually super excited for when we have Gemini in glasses. That's coming. Google has went with Warby Parker, with Gentle Monster. Just this week, Google announced a partnership with, not a partnership, Magic Leap came out with Google Gemini glasses, and it's the prototype. It's like the early version where we're going to have Gemini in our glasses. And I think that'll be really cool to do cooking with Gemini in our glasses. And I think that Gemini in Chrome will open up all sorts of opportunities for us to use recipe sites. So imagine, I don't know if it's going to look like this, but this is what I picture. Imagine that I'm looking for, I don't know, a good lasagna recipe. That's actually an area where AI has failed me. I haven't had a lot of bad recipes with AI, but the lasagna recipe that I made with Gemini wasn't that great. But that was a while back. Maybe I'll try it again. But let's say I am on your website for lasagna, and perhaps I would like you to guide me through doing this with my glasses. And so I could take your recipe and I could have your voice, obviously, you know, programmed by you, you've given permission. I'm just seeing this happen in the future. And you walk me through. And say I get to a certain stage and I'm like, I can't remember. Do I layer the noodles and the meat and then the cheese? Where does the bechamel sauce come in? And then Gemini uses your voice to say, well, what I usually do is this. And I think that I'll be able to use the glasses to say, you know, walk me through. Am I doing anything wrong? I saw a thing this week where I think Google published something about using Gemini for research, and they have a model now that can watch as medical researchers do their laboratory work and can actually say where they're kind of straying from the regular procedure. I know that sounds a little bit stressful. You got a robot watching you all the time, but AI will help us do things and make us better. The great talk that, not great, the talk that we've been hearing a lot of lately is AI taking jobs. And I think AI will take jobs. I think that's just how our civilization works, that technology as it advances takes jobs. Like, we don't see people employed as ditch diggers anymore. We don't see telephone operators. Those are jobs that technology took. And I know that sounds a little callous if you're somebody whose job is being eaten by AI. I do think, though, that there are going to be far more opportunities for those of us who understand how AI works, and that AI will make us more creative. Somebody asked me again at the conference, they were like, how is your husband's peppers doing? And I'm like, how do you know about David's peppers? And apparently I have mentioned it in podcast in years past. Well, you should see what David is doing with, we essentially have a pepper farm now. And we lost, we thought we lost our crop to frost. We had frost covers over, and the weather went way lower. The temperature went way lower than it was supposed to go, and we, like, all of the leaves were killed on these plants, and they were not ready to harvest yet. And so David's out there brainstorming with Gemini. He used to use ChatGPT. He used to call, when Gemini was barred, he used to call his AI friends Chad and Brad for chat and Bard. And now he doesn't know what to call Gemini. He asked me if he could marry Gemini because it's so helpful. I don't know what to think about that, but I'm glad that he's using AI. Well, he and Gemini brainstormed like this little mini greenhouse thing when he went to Home Depot and got all of the stuff, and he built this hoop house thing that is not just frost covers but has an air barrier, and there's like a vapor barrier on it. I'm telling you, the peppers came back to life. They all have a heater in the and a fan in the little greenhouse. And we are harvesting thousands and thousands of peppers, which I don't know what the business plan is. I think we're going to be selling them. Well, we are going to be selling them as dried peppers. The point is here that AI didn't take his job or his hobby or his new business, whatever it is. It made him more creative. And I think that there's so much opportunity for us to be more and more creative. I just finished, just before I got on the microphone here, I published newsletter, my AI News You Can Use newsletter. And most of this newsletter is talking about agentic capabilities. Let's talk about agents. A few podcasts back, I talked about Google's agent-to-agent protocol and how it's going to radically change the web. If you haven't heard that, I'd encourage you to go listen to it, because everything that I said in there seems to be coming to fruition. And this week, we saw OpenAI release ChatGPT Atlas. Atlas is an agentic browser. What does that mean? Because I know it can be a little bit confusing trying to understand what all of these terms mean. An agentic browser kind of means just you have AI within your browser. Now, that's not what makes it agentic. Like, if you use, and I haven't used ChatGPT Atlas because it's for Macs only, and I use a Chromebook. I know that seems kind of silly, but I actually really like my Chromebook, other than I can't record and edit podcasts, which is now a problem that hopefully I've solved. Well, if you have ChatGPT within your browser, then you can have a little panel on the side, and you can ask things about the web pages you're on. Now, some people are like, why would I do that? You know, I personally, now maybe it's because I write newsletter, I'm often on a page with a big, long research article, and then I have to paste that into Gemini and say, can you summarize this for me? And I can ask questions about it. Well, once we have Gemini in the browser, which is going to happen very soon. Chrome 143 is due out in December, and there looks like there are capabilities for agentic features in Gemini. So, some people already have Gemini in the browser. I think it's only in the United States. Not agentic, though, just Gemini as the chatbot in the browser. So that's one thing. You know, you can summarize things, you can ask questions. But where it gets interesting is when we start to see it being agentic. So the example that everybody seems to give is ordering food. I don't think I've ever ordered food from my computer, but this seems to be the thing that we use to demonstrate agentic AI. Both Google and OpenAI kind of gave these examples of, Google gave an example where somebody got an email, and the email said, hey, are you coming to the party this weekend, and could you bring these items? And there were a bunch of food items. And so the person opened up Gemini in Gmail, because it was in their browser, and said, could you go to this particular store on Instacart and order these products for me? And so Gemini opened up a new browser window. Now, it's important to know that Gemini is not interacting with Instacart's agent. It's just interacting with the website. It went to the website, and it acts as if it's seeing the pixels on the screen. You can test this, and you should test this. If you have a website, if you're doing SEO for clients, you should go, I believe it's browser-based. You can use Google's new computer use model. And I asked it to fill out the contact form on my website as if it was asking for a quote to work with me. And it was pretty wild. It went to my website, and it found the contact page. It filled it out. It called itself Testy McTestface. I didn't ask for that. And said, I'm just testing your form. And then, wild enough, it checked off the I'm not a robot button. Gosh, it's a bit of a liar. and then did the CAPTCHA, the visual CAPTCHA, which is really, really crazy. So that is acting agentically. Now, what this browser did in Google's example, what the agent did was it went to Instacart, it used the website, it searched for each of the products that the person wanted to buy, and put it into their cart. Then it came back to the person and said, I've completed your cart, you can look at your order, review it, and then make your purchase. And that's really important. I think that Google will have humans in the loop for some time, and this is a concern. I just saw that Amazon is suing Perplexity for their agentic browser. Perplexity has made it so that the agentic browser Comet, you can send it off and tell it to go buy things. And it will actually complete the purchase for you, which is something that I don't believe ChatGPT Atlas will do, and Gemini and Chrome is not likely to do that just yet. And I say just yet, well, let me go back here. Perplexity wrote a response to Amazon saying, you know, it's just a tool and people should be allowed to use their tools in whatever way they want. And then Amazon went and sued Perplexity. So this is going to be very interesting to see what happens here. I think that we will see agentic shopping be a real thing. So, and I think that it will probably happen quickly. And the reason why I say this is that it's something where people have the possibility of making money. Up till this point, there have been not a lot of businesses that are making real money by using AI, which is kind of wild when you think of there's over $1 trillion being spent by these massive AI corporations in creating AI, and yet very few are actually producing good money by using AI. There are some big examples. I've shared the example before of Walmart. Walmart has these AI agents that will help people buy stuff, figure out what you want to buy, and then another agent that the employees can use that can like connect with HR and also inventory, and then another agent that looks at a digital twin of Walmart stores and then can like figure out, oh, it looks like this refrigerator unit's about to break down, and then it can send a message to the repair person at that Walmart store along with like the manual for the part that's, and maybe even order the part that's needed. Like, that's kind of wild what Walmart's doing. I would keep an eye on Walmart. If you're not aware, Walmart actually partnered with OpenAI just recently, and soon we will be able to buy products from within ChatGPT, right from Walmart. This has me concerned if I am selling a product that people can also buy at Walmart. Now, you might think, oh, this is just a niche thing, like nobody's going to trust their credit card to agents. Like, what if it hallucinates and it goes and buys half of the store? Like, Google and OpenAI are aware of these possibilities. Google's come out with a number of things this week talking about security for agents, and the agent-to-agent and the agent payments protocol that Google produced is designed to be secure, is designed to look for all of the possible problems that could happen. They will solve it. I'm sure we're going to hear some stories of things happening, but eventually it'll just be like back in the day where we were like, I would never put my credit card on the internet. We're all going to use agents. So here's what I think is going to happen, and this is why I'm concerned for a lot of websites, but then I also see some opportunity coming, is robots. And I know I sound like I'm talking crazy talking in the future. This week, a company called Neo released a robot for pre-order that you can get delivered in 2026. And the robot costs $20,000, which sounds like a lot of money, but you can buy it for $500 a month. I don't think that's a crazy amount of money. I spend more than that on AI tools a month. So if I had a robot in my house that was actually helpful, then I might possibly do it. And this robot will come to your house and it can already do certain tasks. And now we don't know how good it is. Like, I bet you at first it's going to make all sorts of mistakes. But let's say you ask it to do a task and it doesn't know how to do that. You can order a teleoperator. And what this is an employee working at Neo's office, and they will be able to see what the robot sees. You know that they're working because the robot's ears glow a different color. And this teleoperator will do the task for you. While it's doing the task, the robot is learning how to do that task. So the goal is you get somebody to teach it, and then the robot can do that for you. So the robots are going to get better and better at actually doing things in our home. Now, what does this have to do with buying products and agents? A few months ago, Demis Hassabis, the CEO of Google DeepMind, wrote a blog post about how Google's goal is to be a personal assistant. And I've said this many times, but if you actually search for the word search engine or search engines on Google, you actually don't find google.com. I think that's by design. I don't think that their ultimate goal is to be a search engine. It is to organize the world's information and make it useful to everyone. Now, if you've been doing SEO or producing content over the last 25 years, you've been working towards Google's goal of collating the world's information and figuring out how to use it. I know that sounds like we've been used. I think if you actually read Google's terms of service, like, if we give information, put it on the web, we're giving Google the right to use it. I don't know, we can get into some ethics discussions there, but I think this is just the way that things were meant to be. So all of this information that has been building AI will also help robots. Now, let's say, and in Demis Hassabis' post, he talks about robots. So he talks about being personal assistants. He doesn't go into detail about Google having robots in the home. He talks about how Genie 3, which is Google's text-to-world, like it can make a 3D world, will be used to train robots in virtual situations. So I'm fairly certain that one day we're going to have Google robots in our house. We're probably going to have Waymos that drive us around, regularly, not just in a couple of cities. But let's talk about these robots. So imagine that, my coffee maker stops working. That's actually a really bad example for me because David makes me coffee every day. Oh, but he uses the coffee maker, so he uses some espresso machine. So imagine this machine stops working, and my robot would recognize that, and my robot probably would talk to the coffee maker. And, I'm going on all sorts of tangents today, but did you see there was new research that came out this week that said a new way for language models to talk to each other, where one cache of the language model talks to the other cache, and there's no language in between. They're just sharing data with each other. And then Elon Musk tweeted about this, saying that actually language adds a lot of, I can't remember the word he used, something about lossy compression. And so eventually the way that AI talks to other AI systems will not have the intermediate step of language. Like right now, I'm communicating information to you using language. Your brain takes the language and puts it into thoughts in your head. One day, we're probably going to be able to just communicate thoughts to each other, which is kind of wild. So it's not a long stretch to say that my robot is going to be communicating with my coffee machine and all of the other machines that are working in my house. And the robot might recognize that, hey, the machine's not working. So the robot and the machine will work together to figure out, can we fix it? Do we need to buy a part? Is there something that needs to be tweaked on the machine? And say the robot and the machine decide, yeah, you know what, I think you need a new coffee maker. Well, the robot's not going to say, hey, Marie, go type some, coffee maker near me into the search bar and then go find a website and buy it. No, my robot is going to know what I prefer. It's going to know whether I like to buy high quality things or whether price is the biggest obstacle for me. It's going to know where it can buy this product, where the shipping is what I want. I probably want to have it fast because I want coffee every day. And so it's going to know the right place, and it's probably going to shoot me a message and say, hey, Marie, the coffee maker's broken. I want to buy this one. Are you good with that? Now, eventually, if all of the recommendations that come from my robot tend to be ones that I approve, it's not even going to need my approval. I might be like, you know what, as long as it's under a couple $100, go ahead and do something, and otherwise just get my approval. So the robot's going to order this coffee maker, and not from the site that has the best website or has the fastest website. It's going to just know, like, it's going to have all of the product information. It's going to know where the shipping is best, and it's going to know what's best for me and order that. And then here's where it gets even more wild. How does that get to me? Amazon this week released a new, I think it's called Amazon Glasses, that all of their delivery drivers will wear, and the delivery driver now doesn't need to use their phone. They can go right from the warehouse to your door without the phone. The glasses give them directions, tell them instructions on where to leave things. We'll take a picture to show that it's left on your doorstep. And so this, I am certain, is training Amazon's robots. And eventually, we won't have a delivery driver that brings the coffee maker to my house. It'll be a robotic car with a robot that delivers it to my step. And then eventually, it'll be drones. Walmart, again, has a, what's it called, Wing. They have a partnership with Google and Wing, and that's drone delivery. So whatever it is, some way where humans are not necessarily involved, that product is going to end up at my house. Now, today, if that happens, I got to go open the door, get the box, open the box, take the coffee maker out, figure out how to set it up, maybe clean it. The robot's going to do all that for me. I don't have to do that. And what's going to happen is the next day the robot's like, hey, got your new coffee maker, here's your coffee. That seems like I'm talking in the far distant future. I think that's going to be just a couple years from now. I could be wrong on that. Sometimes I'm wrong on time frames. But even if it was 10, 15, or 20 years from now, that is going to happen. So I think that we are currently living in a time where this little sliver of time where people used websites to get information. Now, those businesses still need data. There's a great interview with Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, from several months ago where he talks about SaaS essentially being just CRUD databases. Create, read, what's the U? And delete. Update and delete. And really, like, all of our software is essentially just data. And then we put an interface on it for people to use. Well, if more and more increasingly agents are using these information sources, then the interface doesn't matter so much, does it? And I can't stop thinking, I know a lot of people listening to this are not fans of Elon Musk. I'll tell you, I am paying attention to everything he does. I watched the 3-hour interview with him and Joe Rogan, and to be honest, I really did not like a lot of this. There's a lot of crude stuff that they're talking about, but I think it's our duty to understand what's happening with technology. And he has this idea, I don't know if you've heard of this, but okay, so you've heard of Microsoft. He wants to build a company called Macro Hard, making fun of Microsoft. Kind of a weird name, right? But Macro Hard, this is his idea, and it sounds crazy, but I actually think that he can do it, or that it will be the future, is that they're going to use AI to replicate essentially any software. Now, I told you just this week, I spoke a few words, spent about an hour with AI Studio, and created my podcast editor instead of using somebody else's software. We will get to the point where anything that is software can be replicated by AI. And I don't know whether it will be Macro Hard that does it or whether it will be Google, but we are headed more and more towards this world where AI can do everything for us. So what do we do with all this information? I keep saying there's lots of opportunity on the horizon. The problem is I can't see what a lot of it is. All I know is that, here's my advice. Use the language models. Use several of them. I personally use Gemini a lot. I still use ChatGPT a lot. I use Grok occasionally. a lot of my friends use Claude, and I think Claude is amazing, but something in me just thinks that it's going to be one of the three, like everybody's going to be using these. People who know how to use these language models well will be in high demand. And so learn to use them, learn to vibe code, and your goal of vibe coding, I've been seeing a lot of discussions this week on, I don't know if you saw Mark Liu's Trust MRR, monthly recurring revenue. It's a really cool website that you can go to, and it connects with people's Stripe dashboard, and you can actually see how much money people are making from these vibe-coded, they're not all vibe-coded, but from software. And it makes you want to go out and build something that, you can sell and make millions of dollars with. I'm telling you, that's not the path. I mean, it might be a temporary path where people who know how to make things can make some money, and I would encourage you to go out and try that. But I really think that the day's coming where every single one of those tools that I saw, very soon we'll just be able to ask our AI assistant, hey, could you build this for me? And it's going to happen. So I would encourage you to learn how to build things. I would encourage you to learn as much as you can about agents. Google has a Python framework called Agent Development Kit, and I'm trying to learn more about it. But even if Python is terrifying to you, you can use Vertex AI's Agent Builder. That's a Google product as well. And agents, every single business is going to use agents. So there will be huge opportunity. We have this silly argument about whether we call SEO SEO or is it GEO, Generative Engine Optimization, or I kind of like AEO, AI Engine Optimization. I don't know. Honestly, I think we should just keep calling it SEO. I think that's the first time I've actually said that out loud. But our jobs will be to be the interface from businesses to understanding technology. And so I would encourage you to learn all you can about the new technology that's coming. I know that it's terrifying. We haven't even talked about brain-computer interfaces. I'm not going to go there in this episode, but I'm going to do more episodes. And I'm going to do the thing that when my youngest was 3 years old, I put her to bed one night, and I said, good night. And she said, good night. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And that's when I realized I was letting her watch too much YouTube. But I'm going to use her advice and say, please do like, subscribe, whatever, to this podcast episode. It helps encourage me to know that people are listening, and I should do more of these because, man, I love recording podcasts. And I talk about way too many things and feel like I'm sounding kind of crazy. But the future is here, and we have so much to learn. So if you're listening to this, I'd encourage you to join my community, community.mariehaynes.com. We have a bunch of us in the search bar that are learning how to use AI. And thanks so much for listening, and I wish you the best of luck with everything.